Candy. We've all had some in our lifetime, from collecting it on Halloween as a kid to purchasing it from a store. We enjoy the sweet treats, but we don't really know where the candy comes from or where it was made. Wittich's Candy Shop in Circleville, Ohio is one of the few places that makes candy and sells it in-house. In 1840, Gottlieb F. Wittich established a confectionery in Circleville, Ohio. GF learned to make confectionaries as well as baked goods and ice cream under the tuition and supervision of Joseph P. Mayer in Cincinnati, Ohio. In 1839, GF returned to Circleville. It was at this time that he opened a confectionery business in his brother's grocery store. In 1907, shortly before GF's death, the confectionery business was passed to his son Edward. As generations passed, changes were made to keep the pace with the changing sweet tooth of the country. Now, 171 years after its establishment, GF's great-grandson, Fred Wittich, and his family are determined to continue the tradition of high-quality and delicious confections. You may wonder what makes Wittich's different from other candy shops. Well, for starters,
Wittich's is a family operation. I'm a fourth generation. The progression was my great-grandfather, G.F. Gottlieb Frederick, and then his son, Edward, was the second, and then my dad, Frederick Edward, was the third, and I'm a Frederick Edward also, and I'm a fourth generation. The best part of it is the fact of the history we have with the city, and we are the nation's oldest family-owned and operated confectionery.
Wittich's has changed in many ways over the years to meet the growing success and the customers' needs, from moving to different locations, to creating new recipes, to even the addition of a soda fountain.
The soda fountain appeared here when I built this building because back when my mother ran the business and I was working in a store in high school, customers would come in, and one of the biggest things I heard from the customers that have been coming to our store for years would be that I remember the day when I was a kid and living in the country, we would come to Circleville on Saturday and do our shopping, and we would end up at Wittich's Candy for a hot fudge sundae. And that was the highlight of their day. And I never knew the candy shop when I was growing up to have a soda fountain because the ice cream and soda fountain and everything was gone. It was just basically a confectionery, and that was it. So I always thought, boy, if I ever get to run this, I'm going to have me a soda fountain again.
Along with the history and family involvement put into the candy shop, another thing that makes Wittich's different is that unlike most big candy stores, Wittich's does not overprice their candy.
I sell what I consider a fair value on retail for what I sell stuff for. We're probably one of the cheaper places around Central Ohio to buy candy. At $17 a pound, we're a lot cheaper than most of the people on a local basis. But I know what I've got in it, and I look what I sell it for, and to be honest with you, I can't really bring myself to sell it for too much more than that.
Because Wittich's is 171 years old, a few of the recipes used have been passed down over generations. These recipes require ingredients brought in from all over the United States.
Probably the majority of the ingredients comes from Corbett Company in Columbus, because the majority, you have to say, is sugar and corn syrup. And that comes from a supply company in Columbus called Corbett Company. The chocolate comes from out of Chicago, from the Blommer Chocolate Company. We do have the original hot fudge recipe that I still make today, and it's probably close to 100 years old. And I buy product for it. I have to go actually to Milwaukee and get one of the ingredients to put in this to make the hot fudge.
Wittich's makes many types of candies, and acquiring all the ingredients is just the start of the candy production process. The type of candy determines the rest of the steps in the production process.
Most of the candies are, just there's specific ways that you apply different things to produce this kind of candy and that kind of candy. Different ingredients, different quantities, changes what everything is. We make about 8 flavors of cream centers and 4 chewies or caramels. We make a regular caramel, caramel with pecans in it, and a chocolate flavored caramel. And then we make a honey nougat, which is a nougat type center with almonds, pecans, and cashews in it. And then we make Buckeyes, and we make peanut brittle, coconut brittle, and cashew brittle. Peanut brittle, there's a lot of hand stirring on peanut brittle.
Fred starts the peanut brittle process by measuring out the ingredients. He then adds a mixture of sugar and corn syrup to a kettle. He cooks the mixture for about 30 minutes, past boiling, to 240 degrees. Once it reaches this temperature, he then adds peanuts and margarine. Once these ingredients are added, he stirs the mixture until it reaches temperatures between 295 and 300 degrees. Fred then adds baking soda to aerate the product or puff it up, which allows it to become crunchy. Once stirred together, the product rises to the top of the pot. Fred then takes it to a metal slab table. He pours it out onto the slab into a giant circle. He cuts the circle in half, separates them, and flips the 2 halves over. He then pulls apart the top layers of each half. This gives you 4 halves of brittle and is a lot easier process than trying to stretch out the brittle. He scrapes the excess brittle off the bottom layers and flattens it together. Fred then uses his hands to flatten the rest of the brittle out evenly so it's not too thick and lets it cool for 5 to 10 minutes. Once it's cool enough to handle without gloves, he breaks it into their containers. He weighs each container to either hold a pound or half pound of brittle depending on its size. In the one small kettle, Fred can make about 15 pounds of peanut brittle. Once all the containers have been made, he puts lids on it, and depending on the container, he will put the Wittich logo label on the lid. Now, the brittle is ready to sell. At Wittich, each employee has their specific role within the store. They all work together to make sure everything gets done and that things run as smooth as chocolate.
Around 7:30 in the morning, I'll come in and I'll make a batch of cream and cook it up and be ready for the girls when they come in at 9 o'clock. My wife and one of the other girls will come in to roll out, make the little cream centers that we make. And my cousin Ginger, she'll be in to do the hand dipping. And then after that's done for the day, if we need mints or any other product, peanuts roasted or anything like that, then I'll roast peanuts or maybe make a couple batches of peanut brittle, coconut brittle.
I just try to keep things running smoothly and make sure we have all the things ordered that we need. We run out of boxes, we run out of nuts. That's my job, to order a lot of the things.
I wait on customers. I make most of the gift baskets that we offer. And I also do some of the chocolate molding. We all do a little bit of everything in here.
Wittich is open year-round, but there are certain times of the year that are their busiest.
It is probably the busiest during pumpkin show. Everybody in the county seems like they're coming through the store. And then besides that, we have a booth over at on Main Street, and we try to keep it filled. So we're cutting a lot of fudge that week, and the schedule is really packed that week.
Candy. We've all had some at one time or another in our life, but not all that candy has the special, historic, and family touch that Wittich has. So next time you're craving something sweet, don't just pick up any old treat. Head to Wittich, where you'll find homemade candy anytime.